Anybody have any
We've got
questions?
a couple, any questions? I have.
I should start with the same question I ended the last one with. So there is a big achievement gap between the schools. In Howard County, there's an achievement gap between the schools in Howard County. So what is your plan or proposal to make sure that all the schools are performing at the same high level?
I think what we need to do is a better job of collecting data and analyzing the data. Because I hear a lot of anecdotal as to what's working and not working. To me, we need to look at the data and look at the schools where they're doing better. And we have to see what those best practices are and what their process is. I think that we can be much better with that because there are going to be differences from schools based on populations. You're not going to have exactly school A to school B to school C. So you have to figure out individually what would work in one school may or may not work in that school, but the sharing of the information and figuring out as to where we can support these students because the needs are very, very different. So I want to look at it from data, and then I want us to start doing it. We have some schools where kids do very, very well, and I'm wondering, well, why can't we replicate that?
And so why haven't we done it in the last 4 years?
Well, that's a very good question. We're getting better about collecting data and collecting the information, but we have a lot more progress we need to be making.
Who's responsible for collecting that data? Because during the last redistricting, it was like this fight of this data's not good, and thinking to myself, how hard can this be to collect this data? We have a lot of smart people that live in this county.
And we all have to register. You know exactly where we live.
I agree with you. I was a little befuddled as to why that, because to me the data should be the easy part, right?
Yeah.
The policy and the figuring out what to do. That's where the rubber hits the road. Ultimately, it's the superintendent's responsibility because the staff is his staff. I found it incredibly frustrating that they came to us at the end of the redistricting. We're like, well, the farm's data is all wrong. So we spent all of that time making decisions on data that was faulty, and then we continued to go forward. So we have to do a much better job. The board needs to do a better job of holding the superintendent accountable. To me, that is the biggest piece of this. And if we don't give him, if we don't say saying these are our expectations is one thing, but having him have to live up to those expectations is another. And the board can be doing a much better job of that. I don't believe the board should micromanage, but there has to be the checks and balance. And I do not feel that there is that checks and balance right now. So hopefully, with a board that is going to be willing to hold the superintendent accountable, we will be able to move forward. Because we cannot continue to do business this way. No corporation would continue to do business this way.
Yeah.
What about the budget? With all these cuts being thrown around, music, technology, GT programs, what are your thoughts about what to do with the budget?
The budget's a hot mess, and that's the kindest thing. I have been saying that the budget is a nightmare for years, and I keep saying, you think this year's bad, wait till next year, and there we go. The problem I'm finding is that we're in the business of education. The business side of the house, we couldn't run a lemonade stand if our life depended on it because we don't think in the way that a business thinks. And you need that business foundation in order to do the other things of your business. So as we continue to move forward and we're being inefficient, for example, we don't have a chief financial officer. We are over $1 billion organization based on our capital budget and our operating budget, and we don't have a CFO. And I don't get it. I mean, I'm sorry. I still think we still need accountants. We still need all of this. So the problem is we have been taking away from the business side for too long to support the education. So we've created an imbalance. And now it's almost like a perfect storm where we have all these things. We have a point where we don't have physical capacity in our schools. I have $500 million in deferred maintenance. I don't have a CFO. I don't have money. You know what I'm saying? Our operating budget, we don't have what the superintendent says we need. I mean, it is all coming together at one time, and that's why we need a board that is going to hold the superintendent accountable and make sure that we start doing the business side of the business. And to give you an example, when we went to hire a new person for human resources, I asked to see the job description. When I got the job description, human resources, education, training, and experience was optional. And I said, can you please explain this to me? Why in God's name would this be optional? And I was told this. Well, we have principals on the search committees and on the interview committees. And this is our way to give principals an opportunity if they want to do something different. I like one principal as much as the next one, but with all due respect, I want someone who has the experience in the job we want them to do. And if it's a non-education job, would we put someone as a principal who did not have the training as a principal? No. So then why would we do it on the business side of the school system? And that's part of the problem we have, is I'm trying to change a culture. It is a cultural shift. We're making it, but it takes a long time to shift the Titanic. I have no patience, which doesn't help, but we need to make these changes, because if we want the system to sustain itself, it's not going to happen. Sustainability is necessary, and when we budget, we need to budget with a mind and an eye towards the out years. We don't do that. In the private sector, because I have both private sector and government experience, so I'm like looking at this and going, oh, this is not a way to run a railroad. So hopefully, moving forward with a board where we have individuals who are going to want to hold accountable and say, no, you know what, we really need to have to start doing the business side differently and move ourselves forward, because it's not going to get any better. That's the challenge.
So what are some of the parameters that you would evaluate a school on? Like, average scores is one thing. What are the other things that you could evaluate a school on to say, like, hey, it's doing good or bad compared to the other schools in the county?
I think what we need to do is, I think we rely too much on standardized tests, because a test is not going to tell you whether or not your child is doing well. Your kid could really do well on tests or really do poorly on tests. I think we have great educators in this county. We need to listen to them. And I truly believe that the educator standing at the front of the room knows whether or not my child is doing well or not doing well in their class. And we need to figure out a way to take that input and information and evaluate our children that way. Because I always look at public education, especially K through 12, as creating a lifelong love of learning in our children. Because if they don't have that, they're not going to want to pursue anything. It gives them hope. And I think that we need to continue